My records sold, I think, 2,000 records, which were all my little teeny coffee shop fans. And it probably only sold 2,000 records for over a year. But somewhere around then it began to snowball. And then I started selling 1 million albums every month for over a year.
Holy shit.
It was crazy.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Holy shit. That's back when people bought albums too.
Yeah.
Like that's you got in the last wave.
I did. I was lucky.
That was literally the last wave.
Yeah. Every month, another million.
That is crazy.
Yep.
That went on for a year?
Over a year.
Wow.
It was crazy pants.
Wow. That's bananas. What did that feel like? How old were you?
20?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
21 maybe?
That is so crazy.
Yeah. So I got discovered when I was 18, and then I think it finally hit when I was 21 maybe.
21 selling 1 million albums a month. That's fucking bananas.
It got big. It just took on, like, it was like, you talk about momentum. It was like, it was unreal.
Thank God.
After my second album, I quit, like just fully quit. I quit for 2 whole years because I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, this isn't psychologically healthy for me. I never thought I'd get to that level of fame. It just got too much. I think by that time I was on the cover of Time magazine, and I was the type of famous where you can't go pee without people following you in and cross the street without people following you. And, you know, when Who'll Save Your Soul was my first hit, that was the very first song I wrote. So it was like...
Who Will Save Your Soul is the very first song you wrote?
Yeah. Yeah, I wrote that when I was 16.
Wow.
So that became my first hit. And it was weird because I didn't mean to write a hit. I did never really, you know, when I was writing these songs, never thought I'd be a famous musician. It was just, we got a head trip. Because then you're supposed to have more hits and write more hits, but I never meant to write a hit. And so if I didn't know how I did it, how would I do it again? And then I realized, hey, idiot, you have the biggest back end anybody's ever gotten. You're loaded. You don't ever have to have a hit again. I never had to have a hit again, ever. I sold so many records. I was like, I won the lotto.
You didn't spend it? You didn't go crazy?
Mm-mm.
It's
No.
gotta... It had to be so hard to be that young and be that wealthy, from going from being homeless to 5 years later being rich as fuck.
I never cared. I liked being happy. It sounds so dumb. But my metric was really different. My metric got shifted so hard because I'd been so miserable. And there's plenty of rich people that still kill themselves, so that can't be the answer. But having health insurance, having medicine, being able to get a plane ticket whenever I wanted, like, you talk about money helps. It don't make you happy, but it helps.
Yeah.
It was really nice having a home, you know what I mean? But I was just never a real money-hungry person. It just wasn't the key to what turned me on personally. Other things turned me on more. So,
But it's still amazing to have that kind of insight while you're recovering from being homeless, and then you get insanely wealthy really quickly. Like that kind of money, like making that kind of money, selling 1 million records a month is fucking insane.
yeah. Yeah, to me, again, it goes back to that logical plan of like my North Star. Be happy, figure out how to be happy. It's an active job, and then be an artist. Long story short, I woke up at 34 and realized all the money was gone.
Oh, no.
And I was like $3 million in debt. And it was
no.
really not good.
How much did she steal?
My accountants think that it was probably somewhere at least north of 100 million, but I don't really know for sure. Yeah.
Your mom stole.
Well, let's be careful with the word stole for lawsuits.
I'm going to say it.
It's
Let her sue
gone.
me.
It's gone. That's all I can
Well, what did
say.
she do with it?
Never could find it. Don't know. Just gone.
Did she have an explanation?
Things, you know, started seeming weird. You know what's amazing is like that 2-year like empowering break I took from the music industry to decide like, do I really want to do this? I was going broke during them because she was spending so much money and I had no idea, and she never said anything.
So she just had access to your money.
Yeah. Through these other people, but I didn't know that she did. She'd always wanted 50% of my income as a salary, and I would just never give it to her. I was like, no.
50%?
Yeah. But I was always like, no, you're not having 50%. So she just took it.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
You didn't have any access to your bank accounts. You didn't look at any of that.
I did. How do I do this without like being, I just don't want to get sued.
You really think your mom would sue you after stealing $100 million from you?
I think it's really possible. It could be just, I don't know.
There's people that can take care of that, you know.
I was seeing bank statements, but they weren't real.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Oh, it gets worse. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Holy shit. If you were in your 20s when you hit, and then you're 34 when you realize you were broke, $10 million a year. Like, a crazy person can spend $10 million a year pretty fucking easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all she had to do, and then you're gone $100 million.
Mm-hmm.
And you just trusted her.
Yeah, I did. Nobody else could have done it but her. But I really, really did trust her.
Jewel.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So she just took to that money like a duck to water.
Yeah, she loved money. Yeah, I was not as much my deal, but she really liked it.
Oh, my God. That is so insane. And so how much in debt were you at 34?
I think about $3 million.
Jesus Christ.
So I suddenly had to I had to sell all my homes. Not all of them.
Poor baby. People hear that?
I know.
You gotta sell all your homes.
It wasn't all my homes. I had one home I lived in Rancho Santa Fe that my mom lived with me. And then I had an office that I sold.
That is...
And then my mom had bought a house on Lopez Island. And mind you, I'm driving a Jeep Cherokee. You know what I mean?
Right. So you never went crazy.
I never went crazy.
But
and I was saving this money for this really great strategy of being a 60-year artist, you know what I mean? And taking risks creatively. And I didn't have the money to take the risks.
Oh, my God.
She had this house on Lopez. I needed her to sell it, too, because I needed to sell every asset, you know, to try and pay back, to get this $3 million out of debt. And she bought it with my money, you know what I mean? So it's technically my home-ish, but it was in her name, and she had the title. And so she was like, yes, of course I'll give it to you. She never did. And so, again, it was the same hotel. I was cutting a pop record, which, by the way, was like, you don't make pop records when you're a 90s credible singer-songwriter. It's not what you do. Like, that was a huge risk for me, and I knew it, but I wanted to do it. Then I was broke, taking a huge musical risk that I knew everybody would hate. I knew the press would hate me making a pop record, again, I'll have to tell you a story about that, but I knew it was a risky thing. So now I'm trying to make a record, deal with the fact that my mom is not who I thought she was. Everything pretty much I've been told about my life from her was not what I thought it was. I'd have to go through my entire life emotionally and psychologically and figure out what was a truth and what was a lie from 35 years of my mom talking to me. It was an awful, awful, awful thing. The betrayal, the hurt, you can imagine the whole 9 yards. But I still was trying to just handle the money thing, right? And make this record because I really needed to make this record. And so she's in the hotel and I was like, you haven't sold this house. Like, you have to sell this house. You have to give me this money. And it was like all the masks came off. My mom has never spoken above a whisper. She'd always speak in this really calm voice. She'd never get angry. It's hard for me to describe the look on her face, but it was like seeing a mask ripped off. And she's like, I'll give you the fucking house. And I was like, I could end up dead.
Like she could kill you.
It worried me. I was like, that hit a new level of what I was dealing with. And I made sure I changed my will instantly. I made sure I took care of all that level of stuff.
Holy shit. So now you're thinking your mom might kill you.
Whether it's justified or not, I was like, Jewel, this is how people end up on TV.
Yeah.
Dead.
In one of those true crime shows. Holy fuck.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh my God. I have such a hard time with this story.
What started the first thread is my manager that got pushed out sued me for being pushed out, I guess. So she sued me for like, I think it was maybe the sunset clause. I can't remember very good. And so we go through this whole lawsuit. It's an intense lawsuit. The judge finally brings me and this manager in an office, and he's like, just settle. You two need to work this out. This is going to go on forever. Just settle. We agreed on a price. I agree to pay her. We go outside. I tell my mom, like, all right, I just agreed to pay her X dollars. My mom goes, we don't have it. And I went, come again? This was a number I should have. And so she told me in front of my lawyer and maybe her lawyer that there was no money. And that's how I started to figure it out. That woman went through this whole lawsuit without ever telling me.
Holy fuck, your mom sounds insane. So
we made a deal that, so she never claimed anything as income, right? She just took it all. And so and you could get a sunset clause. Like, so in a contract, for anybody listening, it doesn't know what a sunset clause is. Like, if a manager helps make you famous, they could have an argument, even if you fire them as a manager, for having a piece of your career forever. It's kind of the sunset clause. And so her and I didn't have a contract, but she definitely was wanting, you know, like an argument for a piece of my career forever. So in exchange for not having that, we worked out this deal where she would claim income as taxable. She'd have to pay taxes on that. And then she wanted $500,000. So I went to a manager named Irving Azoff, and I borrowed money. And I paid my mom off, and it was the last time I ever saw her. Was in
Wait a minute. She stole $100 million, and then you gave her $500,000?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just to go away, just to be done with it, just to help with the tax situation that got caused by the whole thing. It was a shit show.
But what did it feel like when you found out that all the money was gone, and then you realized that your mom had ripped you off?
It took so long to figure it out. So once I started pulling the thread to when I made the realization, it took quite a bit of time.
How much time?
At least a year, I think. Probably.
What was her thought? Did she have an explanation?
No, she just was like, no. Nothing was ever clear. Nothing made sense. And, you know, I would try to bring in the other people. I'm like, what the hell? How did this happen? And then I brought in an outside auditor. And that's when, like, I started figuring out, like, and this woman, like, I'll never forget. I was at a hotel in L.A. My mom was there. Her two, you know, right hands were there. This accountant, and she was like, you've gone broke several times in your career. I was like, come again? Like, what?
How do you ever trust anybody after that?
I think that my life has been defined in what I would call true rebellion. Being truly rebellious when I moved out at 15 meant figuring out how to be happy. You know, being truly rebellious meant when I was signed, figuring out how to be famous and happy. And the only real fuck you I could think of for my mom was figuring out how to be happy. And it's funny, I could cry saying that, but I really mean it. It's so funny. I was not going to let her make me bitter or damaged or unable to live in the world and know love and tenderness. I wanted my life to make me more loving and more kind and more giving and more generous. And you don't just get to do that. You have to fight for it. Unless you're delusional and you just act like everything's fine and act like you're fine. But you can't fake that. You have to really heal. You have to really figure out how to recover. And thankfully, my hit at the time became a hit. It was Intuition. Huge left turn musically, but thank God it was a hit. And then I was about to do a huge tour. It was going to make me a shit ton of money. And I didn't do it. I called my manager and I said, I can't tour. I'm going to have a mental breakdown. Like, I can't figure out how to walk in life right now with everything. Oh, sorry, I'm getting so emotional. I just didn't know how to do it. And so I just stopped and I just didn't worry about the money and I didn't worry about anything. And I just quit and I hid out on the ranch in Stephenville. And I was like, okay, this is like, you're going to have to do the best figuring out you've ever done. And I didn't want to go to a therapist because my brain had been so fucked with. I was so mind-washed by my mom. And so I kind of went back to the drawing boards of self and other. What thoughts are mine? What thoughts aren't mine? What things make me anxious? What things don't?